I was dreaming of bigger things and wanna leave my old life behind. Thunder.
You're listening to the Create What You Speak podcast. My intention is to change the lives of 1 million women, one podcast at a time. Now let's get started.
Thunder, feel the thunder.
My name is Sloan Fremont, and today I'm going to talk to you about reaching.
Guess I don't know anything about it. Guess I thought you were preaching to an empty room. And I tell you how I feel, but I don't want to speak too soon. I just pray so.
So, the other day I was reading my horoscope like I always do, and do you do that? Like, am I the only one? I have like 5 apps on my phone for my horoscope, and sometimes they offer some pretty good advice, and I like to write down that advice, and sometimes I sneak that good advice into these shows, and that's what I'm going to do today. So, the horoscope I was reading the other day said this: allowing and reaching are two different things. One gets you there, the other does just the opposite. So allowing and reaching are two different things. One gets you there, the other does just the opposite. So if you think about allowing versus reaching, which one do you think gets you there, and which one do you think does just the opposite? And which one do you actually do on a regular basis, right? Especially when it's something that you really, really want, right? So that's what we're going to get into this week on the topic of reaching. And I'm going to tell you how this looks in my life. And maybe you can relate to this. I'm hoping that you can. And as I was thinking about how to talk about this, I thought I'd explain each of these in the way I process them in my mind, my body, and how it feels to me. So as I go through this, see if you can relate. All right, let's start with reaching. So, and I think you know this, but I just want to be clear. When I'm talking about reaching, I'm talking about metaphorically reaching for something, right? Like reaching for the thing that we really want or that we're really trying to manifest. Like, I'm not saying like physically reaching for an item on a shelf, right? I'm talking about reaching for what I want to manifest in my life. And so if I think of reaching for something, for me, I automatically picture struggle in my mind. Like I see myself reaching my arms in the air, like I'm trying to grasp onto something that's just out of my reach. And I see myself like I'm on a ledge or like on a ladder that's like tipping over because I'm trying so hard to grab onto that thing that I want so bad. And it's like I can visually see myself struggle when I'm thinking of reaching for something. Okay, so now let's talk about what that sounds like in my mind, like the things I might say to myself as I'm really, really reaching after the thing that I want. So for me, it's like there's this impatient that comes to mind when I think of reaching. And it's like I have these repeated thoughts of like, why can't I get this? Or why is this so damn hard? Or why isn't this thing that I want so bad coming to me? Like I'm doing all the right things. Like why am I not getting what I want? And reaching implies chasing to me. It applies a lot of effort. Like I'm having to do everything and probably giving more than I should, like in the situation, right? Like if you think about a relationship, like if I think about reaching, it's like I'm maybe putting out 90% of the effort and the other person's only putting out maybe like 10%. And there's a lot of like questioning that goes on and like why is it so hard? Like, right. Like, and I'm probably exhausted, right? I'm probably like mentally like exhausted from all this. And then of course comes the analyzing and the planning and the feeling like I need to do something, right? Like I said, like this feeling, this intense need to do something, like reach harder, reach faster, reach with force, like twist, turn, bend, break, whatever you got to do to get that thing that you want, right? Just fucking do it already and make it work, right? Like that's what these thoughts that I'm like, that are playing out in my mind. And it's like, otherwise I feel like if I don't do these things, that the thing that I want, it won't ever get here and I will have missed out. And it's a lot of thoughts of like actioning my way into something because I'm afraid I'm going to miss it. And also for me, it's like a lot of repeated thoughts of defeat in my mind. Like I've made up my mind I can't have it because I'm struggling so hard and nothing is seeming to show for it. And because it's not coming to me this instant, that probably means I'm not going to have it, right? Because I can't have it right now when I want it. That means I'm not going to get it. And I'm not willing to wait again because I'm afraid if I wait, it's going to slip away from me. And so I think that the only solution then is that I'm not going to get it, right? And then that makes me sad, and it makes all these other emotions come up with that too, right? And it's like with that, because I feel like I can't have it, maybe that, maybe I'm trying harder within that, right? Like I'm struggling and reaching even more, but also like there's a lot of focus and a lot about thinking of things and focusing on things outside of my body. Like I'm thinking so much and trying so hard and putting so much effort into it that I'm putting my own needs last. Like I don't pay attention to how I feel or those thoughts that I'm thinking because I'm so focused on I'm focused on everything outside of me, essentially. And with lots of thoughts of struggle and fear and anxiety and anger and frustration and this feeling sorry for myself and thinking that I'll never have what I want. Like all of these bad thoughts are coming up that are making me feel bad. So, which leads me to the next part. Like, how does this feel in my body? Like, to me, it feels tight and rigid and uncomfortable and in heartache and pain and suffering. And there's so much sadness, like this heaviness of sadness. And it feels constricting because I'm focusing so much outside of myself and I'm looking everywhere outside of me for answers instead of looking within and paying attention to how I feel inside and taking those cues and really listening and then doing something about it to change my approach to the situation. So that's what reaching looks like in my mind visually if I think about it. That's what, like, the thoughts that play out in my head, and that's what it feels like to me. So maybe you can relate to some of that if you think of your own life and the things that you're trying to manifest. And maybe you have maybe it feels different, or you think different, or you visualize different. But that's what it feels like, and that's how I would summarize reaching. Okay, now let's talk about allowing. So here's what I picture visually with allowing. It's like my arms are definitely down. My arms are definitely down by my side. And it's kind of like I'm just floating along with a smile on my face. Like I'm relaxed, like I'm happy, I'm content. Like the things that used to piss me off are, okay, they're annoying, but they're not enough to get me riled up again. And it's like I'm approachable. Like other people are smiling at me because I'm not closed off. I'm not stuck in this loop of bad thoughts, which are turning into bad feelings, which are showing on the outside. It's like I'm free because I'm not confined by my own fear and anxiety. And I'm looking after myself because I'm taking care of myself. And it shows on the outside because I feel it on the inside. And when I'm allowing, what I hear going on in my mind is a lot of trust. Like I trust what's happening. Even if I can't see it in this moment, I believe that something good is coming my way so much that there is no other choice than for that to happen. It's like I've let go of the steering wheel and I'm paying more attention to my thoughts, and I'm not going to make myself suffer by thinking those terrible, terrible thoughts. So I think positive as much as possible, right? Maybe not 100% of the time, but more often than not, I'm thinking positive. I'm focusing on what's good. I'm focusing on believing and trusting that, yeah, it's coming, right? I give people the benefit of the doubt. I see them as other humans going through life just like me, doing the best that they can. And I think really seeing someone is different than seeing them. Like really seeing them means you're not seeing them through your own experiences and expectations and your beliefs, right? Like you're seeing them and letting them have those things without putting your own self into that scenario. So with that, I let people be who they are because I get to be who I am. And I read something recently about picturing your words coming from your heart when you speak instead of your mind. And I think when I'm allowing, that's how my thoughts are coming to me, right? My thoughts are coming through my heart to as I think them because I'm taking care of myself. And with that, that's how I approach other people too, right? I lead with my heart rather than the analytical, logical side of my brain. And so what does allowing feel like in my body? Like to me, it feels like relief. Like it's relaxed because I'm trusting and I'm settled down. Like my mind is settled and so in turn my body is settled. And because I trust and I believe and I know something incredible awaits me, I take care of me. I don't spend all that time anxiously wound up so tight that I can't think about anything else or I can't do anything else. Like because I'm relaxed and I'm allowing, like I make time for the things that feel good to me. I exercise, I eat well more often than not, right? I'm not saying all the time, but more often than not, I get enough sleep and I cut out the late nights and too many drinks and that's not to say I cut it out all the time, right? But I back off a little because I want to focus on feeling good, and I don't feel good when I'm hungover. I don't know about you, but I definitely don't. And so I feel good on the inside and it shows outside, and I make my feeling good a priority. And so when you compare those two, the difference between reaching and allowing, can you feel the difference? Like, can you feel how different that is when you process your thoughts, your feelings and actions with reaching and allowing? It's like they're on totally different ends of the spectrum, right? Like one is feels good, the other feels very, very bad. And so if we think back to the original quote that started the show, that allowing and reaching are two different things, and one gets you there, the other does just the opposite. I think it's pretty obvious that when we allow, we get where we want to go easier and faster, and the reaching does just the opposite. It's like it keeps the thing we want further away because we're resisting it. We're resisting it through all that action and that anxiety and that fear and feeling like we need to control the outcome. That's actually what stops it from coming in. And there's an Abraham quote that I love that summarizes this. It says, "Most people rarely align with their true power because it seems illogical to them that there is power in relaxation, in letting go, or in love, or in joy, or in bliss. Most people do not understand that their power lies in releasing resistance, which is the only obstacle to their true power." Resistance is the only obstacle to your true power in creating your own reality. So if we think about these two ends of the spectrum, with reaching, where there is a lot of resistance, right? Because we're feeling this need to do things that are resisting. They're not what we really want to do. I think that might be the better way to explain it. And when we're doing things that we don't really want to do, but we feel like we have to do, there's some resistance that comes up there. But if you think about allowing, we're dropping the resistance because we're trusting and we're knowing, and we're not as amped up about it because we believe that this good thing can come to us. And that's kind of the end of the story. It's like I've said before, like get information, right? Like this is how this is going to go. It's not a, may I please have this begging attitude. It's a, I'm going to have this and this is how this is going to go because I create my own reality. So I mentioned a person last week, Cosmic Byron I found him on Instagram, but I mentioned a quote last week and I wanted to mention another one this week that I really liked that goes along with this. And he says, "Lately, I've just been on some whatever shit. Like if it comes, it comes. And if it goes, it goes." And I'm talking people, places, and things. To attempt to resist it is to imply non-trust towards source. So I've learned to allow it simply because I know that the universe has my back. To attempt to resist it is to imply non-trust or not trusting source or the universe or whatever you want to call it. So I've learned to allow it simply because I know the universe has my back. And I really love this, what he says here. If it comes, it comes. If it goes, it goes. And I know this works because I just recently did this. When I told you a couple weeks ago it's been about a month now, when I met somebody new in Fort Lauderdale. And I told him, because he was kind of back and forth about coming. And I told him, I said, "You can come or you don't have to. I'm fine either way." I was like, you know what? Come or go. I'm fine either way. I'm in Florida. I'm going to have fun. I would like you to come, but if you don't, I'm fine either way. And he told me later when he showed up that me telling him that made him like, well, like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, I'm going. Like my non-resistant to it, my nonchalance. I guess I wasn't really trying to be nonchalant. I was just trying to be more like, I'm fine either way, because I trust and I believe. I'm allowing and I trust and I believe. So I know that this works, this paying attention to allowing versus reaching, because I've done this in my own life. I just as an example right there I talked about it. I think it was last week when I talked about my work situation that was going on, and I just let go. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to allow it. It's going to be whatever it's going to be. I'm going to allow that, and that's going to be perfectly fine. And so as you move forward this week, I would ask you to start to pay attention to those really, really big things that are so important to you in your life. And ask yourself, am I reaching for this? Am I reaching for this? And reaching to me implies struggle and effort and a lot of action. Or are you actually allowing it? Are you allowing that thing to come in? And allowing implies trust and knowing that the perfect thing is going to come to you at the perfect time and that something absolutely incredible awaits you. So I've got a few other thoughts I wanted to leave you with for this week on the topic of reaching. And so I wanted you to know this, that what you want is wanting you. And when you reach for it, it's like you can't get it, right? Like because you're trying too hard. But when you allow, that's when you've relaxed enough to believe that it's going to happen. And that's when it can find you. And I think instead of focusing on what isn't working for you, if you can shift your focus to what is and take that one little thing and build off of it, it gets you started. It gets that momentum that's needed for something like this, right? And I'm going to do another Abraham quote because they just kept coming to me this week and I'm not sure why, but they did. And they just lined up with this topic. But another quote from Abraham is this: there is no future. There is only right now. It's now or it's not. So your future is going to be like you feel like today. Your future is going to be full of what you are feeling right now. So your future is going to be what you feel like today, and your future is full of what you're feeling right now. So do you want more reaching or do you want more allowing? Because this is how we create our own reality, right? Like the thoughts we feel today, the thoughts, the way we feel today, our mood, the thoughts that are going on in our head, that's what's creating tomorrow and the next day and the next and the next. So if you want a better today, tomorrow, the next day and the next, you've got to change how you're looking at it in your mind. You've got to change that approach. And I think this difference between allowing and reaching is one of the ways it can help you get there. All right, so that's it for this week's show on reaching. I'll do a quick recap of the show. I'll talk about the songs I chose, and then I'll close out the show. I started out the show talking about the quote from my horoscope that said, allowing and reaching are two different things. One gets you there, the other does just the opposite. And so I talked about those differences between reaching and allowing and what they mean, at least to me, visually in our thoughts and how that feels in our body. And so reaching to me is a struggle. It's like trying so hard to get what we want and then getting frustrated when it doesn't come our way or how we want it to or as fast as we want it to. And so then we start to think these bad thoughts like, oh my God, this is so hard, or why isn't this happening right now, right? I really want this thing. Like, why isn't it happening? Or maybe we just give up because we think it's never going to happen. And this feels so bad in our body, right? It feels so bad because we're focusing so hard outside of ourselves that we're not even listening to our own needs, right? We're ignoring our own needs and we're looking everywhere but within for answers, forgetting that really we have the answers all along. We do know, even though if it doesn't seem like it, we do know inside of us. But when we allow, it's like we float downstream, right? There's no grasping in the air. We're not flailing our arms around trying to get what we want, right? It's like this visual of just like, to me, it's like a visual of just floating on a lazy river, right? On a raft, right? You're not gripping on the raft for dear life because you trust, right? You trust that slow stream that's going, that it's going to take you where you need to go, right? Like you believe it. Like there's no questioning in it. And it's easy. It's like things are easy and they come to us effortlessly because we believe and we think good thoughts because we know that's where it all starts. We know those thoughts start that it's like that domino effect of what tomorrow is going to bring and the next day and the next. And we just have so much trust in the universe that about what's coming our way, even if we can't see it today, that we don't even bother to get worried about what isn't here yet because we know it's coming. We trust. And this feels good in our body because we can relax and we take care of ourselves and we listen to what we need. We put our own needs first and make that a priority. Remember, what you want is wanting you. And when you reach after it, when you struggle, when you flail around and try to grab it, that's when you can't get it. But when you slow down and allow, and when you're like, you get in that, like that state of belief, that's when you become relaxed enough to let it find you. All right, songs for this week. So, intro song is called Speak Too Soon by Wild Rivers. I really like the song. I feel like the song is about, when you meet somebody new and they blow your mind and you really like, you feel crazy about this person, but you don't want to speak too soon, right? You don't know, like, should I tell them that now? Or like, what's the appropriate time to like express my feelings, right? And the lyrics are this: well, you don't know much about me. I'll explain as best I can. I'm afraid of getting rich just to find out it was fool's gold in my pan. Time is wasted on a boy who's faking, pretending just to be a man. Good God, I got it bad for you, babe. Guess I don't know anything about it. Guess I thought you were preaching to an empty room. And I'll tell you how I feel, but I don't want to speak too soon. I'll tell you how I feel, but I don't want to speak too soon. My God, how many of us can relate to that? So, intro song, Speak Too Soon by Wild Rivers. Outro song is Holy War by Rainbow Kitten Surprise. I love this song. I love all their songs. I don't know why this band isn't more well known. If you haven't heard of them, go listen to them. They're amazing. I think all their albums sound different, like different vibes, which I really like. But Holy War has been on repeat for me. Obviously, like what I think the song is about like in this day and age, like holy wars, right? Like the things that we see all over on the news. And the lyrics go like this: they call that holy war in Dallas. They send crusaders to reclaim the New Jerusalem. They say the queen was born of malice, the queen of Babylon, and all her sons ascended to the throne. They cry for holy war in Dallas. They send crusaders from Phoenix to Beijing. They're calling purify the palace, the streets, but the temple remains unclean. Like, to me, what that says is like the futility in it, in a holy war, right? Like it's never enough. That's what it says to me anyway. All right, that's it for this week on our topic of reaching. I would love to know what you think of this episode. I'll be posting the picture on my Instagram for this week's episode. So after you listen, please be sure and go to the Instagram page and leave a comment and let me know what you think. If you have questions, you're always free to email me, sloanfremont@gmail.com. My website is sloanfremont.com. And as I said, Instagram @sloanfremont. So if you like the podcast, share it with all your friends. I would love to have more listeners. And if you are a new listener, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are a old listener, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you as well. If you like the podcast, subscribe, rate, and review in iTunes and all the other places where people rate and review podcasts. And remember, abracadabra. Now go forth and create what you speak.
Kaboom, blow out, kaboom, everything must go, everything must go, boom, make